Brandon Scott with Sports Radio 610 here, jumping on because we got a little bit of breaking news on Sunday, and that news is about Tank Dell. Now, this is some scary news, some unfortunate news, but ultimately, considering the context of it all, positive news that Tank Dell is expected to be okay or is already considered to be okay after suffering just a minor wound in a mass shooting. There were 10 people shot at a nightclub in Sanford, Florida. Sanford, Florida is close to Tank Dell's hometown of Daytona Beach, Florida. It's about a 45-minute drive away. So I don't know what Tank Dell's off-season living situation is, how often he's in Florida, how often he's in Houston or elsewhere. But obviously, we know that, and if you followed the Texans uniform release last week, Tank Dell was just here as recently as third or whenever that was. When was that? Tuesday or Wednesday, early last week when they did the uniform release. Tank Dell was here modeling the new uniforms for the Texans. And then this week or this weekend, he's in Florida, his native land, where he's from. And at a nightclub on Saturday night into Sunday morning, there's an altercation of some kind. The police out there say, the law enforcement authorities out there say that there was some kind of verbal altercation that turned into gunfire, essentially, where a juvenile suspect, now apparently a 16-year-old juvenile suspect, has been arrested or taken into custody after basically firing into a crowd of people, which obviously included Tank Dell. The story is that there were 10 people who suffered some sort of wound or injury as a part of this, and all 10 of them, including Tank Dell, came away from this thing with non-life-threatening injuries. So, I mean, that's really the story. It's obviously an unfortunate and scary situation to be in. I've seen a lot of people talk about it already of, hey, man, try to stay out of trouble, stay out of the nightclubs, this, that, and, that's not a reality. People are going to go out and live their lives, and shenanigans is going to happen at various different places. It's hard to necessarily predict where it's going to happen. Now, a nightclub does seem to be a place where it's more likely to happen, but it's hard to tell a dude in his early to mid 20s with money in his pocket and, his whole life in front of him seemingly to not go to nightclubs at all. So this just seems like an unfortunate situation. I am curious of what the hell the 16-year-old was doing at a club that I'm assuming was for adults. Tank Dell being a grown-up. What was the 16-year-old doing there exactly? I don't know the arrangement of this club or anything about it. Never been there, obviously, but it is a positive thing. I think anytime you hear about mass shootings, if there's like 10 people that get shot, normally you don't hear about how no one suffered life-threatening injuries. At least somebody is either dead or fighting for their lives. Normally when it's, hey, there was a shooting here, but there were non-life-threatening injuries, it's like 1, 2, 3 people that get shot. This is 10 people that got shot or suffered some kind of injury, including Tank Dell, and all of them came away from it with non-life-threatening injuries. So that is I don't know if there's not a lot of opinion to have about this situation other than that's a blessing. That's a miracle, honestly, in my mind, and a great thing for not only Tank Dell, but all of the other folks that were involved in this who are not famous, who are not well known. So this is a scary thing, but ultimately a positive thing that Tank Dell is going to be okay. There was a report, or DJ Bieniemy, my guy DJ Bieniemy from Houston, from Houston, obviously, from ESPN, mentioned that Tank was already on his way back to Houston. That's what I was trying to say. My guy DJ Bieniemy reported on ESPN.com that Tank was already on his way back to Houston. That's encouraging that he's released from the hospital. He's able to travel. Sounds like he's going to be okay. On the football side, you guys, of course, know that Tank Dell's season was cut short because of his broken fibula. The broken leg that he suffered against the Denver Broncos cut his season short, was really on his way to having a remarkable season. And I think that from the sample size of what you got, the 11 games, 8 starts, or whatever it was, showed you what the potential is with Tank Dell. And the last headline that we had about Tank was, and you guys probably know this if you're following him on social media, on Instagram in particular, you're seeing the the workout videos, and it looks like Tank Dell's been working out for quite a while and has been, I don't want to say fully healed from the fibula, but it looks like he's going to be good to go. And D'Amico Ryans even spoke to that the last time he spoke before the draft. So maybe about a month ago, a few weeks ago, seemed really encouraged about Tank Dell's progress with the fibula. So, I mean, Tank is a big part of what they want to do. Obviously, there's the relationship with CJ Stroud, where CJ Stroud really wanted to have him around. I don't think that's solely why they drafted him. I think they drafted him last year because he's a good football player, but it helped to have CJ Stroud's ringing an endorsement. And then we saw it play out on the field in their rookie season, the chemistry there. That is a really, really big bright spot for this Texans team. Those guys being on the same developmental timeline and having the chemistry that they have, having the relationship that they have, and really just straight up the talent that they have. It was, especially even before the draft, one of the things that I was most excited about year two of the CJ Stroud, Tank Dell connection, with both of them being in the league for their second season. And then, of course, what Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs are going to ultimately give you as well. So a lot riding on the connection with Tank Dell, Tank Dell's health, him coming back from his injury. This is a bit of a pitfall, but at the same time, just really, really happy that this thing did not turn out to be a lot worse than it could have. I mean, obviously, we're talking about gunfire, so his life was at risk in this incident. And then even if, you know, you take it a step below that, he could have injured or hurt something could have been hurt or jeopardized. Something could have jeopardized this man's career, you know, even if he survives a mass shooting. So there's something that could happen in there that could ultimately jeopardize your career. It is encouraging that not only he gets out of this thing with his life, all 10 people who were affected get out of this thing with their lives. I am hesitant to call, you guys will see there at the bottom of this ticker where I call it a minor wound and put that in quotation marks. I am always hesitant to call somebody else's injury or somebody else's plight minor, because I know damn well if I ever get shot, I don't care how superficial of a wound it is. That's major. That's major, whether you want to look at it from a terms of trauma or stress or whatever. You have to imagine something like that would be associated with an experience like this. So, you know, the best of thoughts, hopes, prayers, and whatever it is that you do to pass off positive vibes to somebody, all of that and more to Tank Dell, his family, and the other folks, again, who are not famous that were involved in this, and however it may affect them and their families. Just really glad to hear, because it does, again, seem rare that you hear a story in this country where there's a mass shooting where 10 people are either shot or injured in said shooting, and nobody suffers a life-threatening injury. Nobody suffers a life-threatening injury. So, yeah, and let's do a better job as well with, I know the kid is being charged with minor in possession of a firearm or something to that effect, but that's another underrated part about this, and that's probably a topic for another outlet and another day. But 16-year-old out there with a gun at the club, yo, I mean, that in and of itself is enough to discourage somebody that's my age, that's in their mid-30s, from still going to the club. I'd be damned if a 16-year-old is going to shoot me at the club. You're going to have to catch me out on the street. That can't be it. But again, Tank, you know, prime of his life, go live your life, young man. You're in your hometown, close to your hometown. I totally understand it. I do push back at any of the, hey, stay out of trouble, kids, stay out of. Look, we don't have any reason, and I want to stress this before I wrap this up. We don't have any reason to believe that, other than just being at a nightclub late at night, that Tank Dell was involved in any sort of altercation, anything inappropriate. All the information right now is that he is a victim in this situation, and he is fortunate to be out of here with his life and his health. And that is the takeaway. That is the news. We are thankful for it. I imagine that there will be a little bit of talk about this on the shows coming up this week, but it should still be pretty draft heavy. The Texans drafted 9 players, and it was an exciting weekend for the Texans, an exciting last week or so between the uniform reveal, which again, Tank Dell was a part of, modeling the jerseys, the uniforms, and both in digital copy and in real time, real life for the reveal party that they did last week. And then obviously the draft, drafting 9 players and adding to this team that everybody or so many people are excited about, excited to watch play football. So we're going to get into all of that this coming week on Sports Radio 610, but did want to drop in here for a few minutes to at least update you guys on the Tank Dell situation for our YouTube viewers specifically. This is obviously on our website. It's been pushed through our Odyssey app, but wanted to make sure that the YouTube specific audience had a good sense for what was going on. You can read about it more on sportsradio610.com. We have an article up, a link up that you can find. I'll also try to drop that here in the description as well. But Tank Dell expected to be okay. Mass shooting in Florida at a nightclub, but these 10 folks that were impacted by it are expected to survive and not suffer life-threatening injuries. It is truly a miracle, and from that perspective, a good thing that is the result of ultimately is a terrible thing, a terrible thing that happened. You got the best case result that you could ask for.